Hello, welcome. Commissar Mark here. Today we are going to take a look at how to design a proper industrial area. To start with, I have designed a basic 22 by 6 residential block in here. We have plenty of spare labor, and we are going to take a look at how to make use of the carters from every raw resource production building and workshop to make sure that you deliver them at a distance to warehouses and still retain efficiency. And using this, you can make sure that you can actually extract clay, timber, or marble or iron in areas that are otherwise not very close to your actual trade route where you would prefer to have your warehouses. In this example, I have set up a clay pit on the edge of this lake, which the clay pit itself does have labor and it is at 100% production, which means that a carter from it is going to spawn very soon, which is going to carry the clay to a workshop. However, the workshop doesn't have to necessarily be very close by, so if you imagine that this lake was your only aerial source of clay-like soil that you can make clay pits on, and your exit point from a map would be right here, which means that your exports would be best concentrated around here so that your traders do not ping pong around the map, as we explained earlier in the trade tutorial video. What you would want to do is have yourself a warehouse for pottery over here. However, you need to keep in mind that on this map specifically you could make the clay elsewhere, but just for the sake of this, imagine that this is the only water we have to work with, and so you could want to bring pottery all the way here to the exit point so that you sell it over here so the traders don't ping pong around, as I mentioned. How you would do this is you set up a clay pit. It doesn't have to be very close by. You can see a carter is going to bring it all the way to a workshop, which currently has a piece of clay in it, but he's gonna bring it anyways, and you can see the production is at 7%. The key element of this is you want this carter to deposit the clay into the workshop exactly when this is at 50% or lower, because that means that he can return to pick up another load before the clay pit would just sit around with a produced good waiting for him to return. And so we can see that he's gonna go into the workshop. It's at 35% production now. It's at 42%, and now it's at 47%, and he's going to deliver this clay very soon to this workshop. So you can see that it's quite a distance. The carters from a clay pit or any raw resource production structure can actually go and still retain peak efficiency, because the carter, if he's just sitting around there most of the time, it's not going to be very useful for you. So he's just basically a resource you can utilize as his time and travel. And so you want to keep this under 50%, otherwise what's going to happen is there's going to be an inefficiency. But currently this is going to retain peak efficiency. So he's going to start returning while this is at 50%. So he's going to take the same amount of time as he went here to come back, pick up another load, and immediately ping pong back. And so that's what you want. This pottery workshop is currently manufacturing some pottery, and it has stored up 2 pieces of clay. So let's wait until they manufacture a unit of pottery. Speed up time a little bit. Now it's at 100%, and the carter is going away, and this is the exit point. This is where we would probably want a warehouse, not specifically here. You could also have it all the way here or anywhere close by here, but the deal is you want to check this again and keep it so that here he deposits it maximum at when this is at 50% production. So he returns and grabs another piece immediately. And so in this way you can see that it's quite a distance we managed to cover, and none of it was sitting around for any length of time. It's just peak efficiency. Just need to utilize your people's time. And so we deposited it, and he's gonna come back. And if we check this carter, he's gonna sit around now with the clay, but he immediately pops out with another unit, so no sitting around for the carter. You can also use this logic for farms. So if you would have a granary and you would be depositing food from farms, the deal is you want the carter to be depositing a load of food into the granary when the farm is at 50% growth, and then he would be turning back and go to the farm so that he can collect the next harvest and immediately go and deposit it again, as this same sort of deal as with the workshops. But you can see how, especially on custom maps, usually you have restricted places where you can mine rocks or excavate clay, and so what you want to do is just use the raw resource production buildings somewhere to bring them elsewhere. Another thing you could do, if you didn't have the option to retain efficiency, like for example if this was surrounded by rocks and it would be a winding path and you couldn't really fit workshops around there, you would want to set up just a warehouse to accept clay, and then we would be fetching the clay to another place. So let's start by accepting clay over here. I'm gonna cut this road, I'm gonna add a couple more clay pits, and then just gonna create a little manufacturing area over here. So again, just imagine that this would be cut off from this, so we couldn't use what I just showcased before. So we are going to put in about 5 workshops around here. We could do 6 because you can actually support 3 workshops out of a single resource production structure. It adds up over the years, like if you let it run for a long time. But the deal is, usually you want to just to not have any idle workshops in the short run, because initially every denarii counts, and so that's what you want. So this warehouse would be fetching clay, and we would be fetching 8 units, and you want to fetch only 8, because if you order the warehouse to fetch more, what's gonna happen is the carter is gonna constantly be fetching resources instead of delivering them to the workshop, because this is how the warehouse works. It only has one carter, and the carter is either going out on the map to actually get some resources that you ordered, or he's going to deliver resources on a road layout that's around him to the buildings in order for them to have resources to produce goods. And so he's coming out, he doesn't need road when he's getting, and he's gonna go and grab the clay. He's gonna bring it over, he's gonna deposit it here, and then the carter is going to start to distribute the clay to each individual workshop. And usually you can support around 6 workshops. When you place them effectively, he spawns from this little corner piece. And so the deal is, you want to make sure that you place the warehouse in such a manner that he only needs to really turn around on his heels and deliver it, and immediately back into the workshop to get more. And now he's gonna go and grab even more. Now, if this wasn't enough, like in this case, you can see there are still some idle workshops. What we could do is just another warehouse, which also only gets 8. Because if we get any more, he would be constantly getting more clay instead of actually focusing on delivering, as I mentioned. And so we'll want to add another warehouse. And that's how you would fix it. And another thing we'll take a look at is actually imports. So let's take a look at the trade routes over here. So it looks like we can import olives from Tarako. It's a land trade route, and we can sell them pottery. So let's open it up. We're going to go into the trade advisor. We are going to export all the pottery that's in our city, and we're gonna import olives. So let's take a look at this warehouse. So we'll designate this as tradable. None of this has pottery, so we are safe. The traders are gonna start spawning from over here. And they're gonna come and they are going to start buying up our pottery, which is gonna make us money. Now, as I mentioned in my trade tips video, what's gonna happen with traders if you start importing goods is they will want to, according to their logic, first sell you imported goods, and then they're gonna go and buy up your exports, and then they will leave the map. And so we will want to establish the oil production industry around this entry point, because that's naturally where they would go, so that they can continue on their way to buy our stuff and leave. Because if we flipped it, if we sell pottery from here and import olives here, what they would do is first go here, import us olives, go here, buy pottery, and then leave. And that would waste time, because you can only have so many caravans on the map at the same time, which is dependent on the quota. And I mentioned how exactly that's broken down in the other video, so if you don't know and want to know, you can check that. but that's not what we are going to mention here. Instead, we are going to start establishing the oil industry, as I mentioned, and so we want to utilize this roofed area, as I mentioned, as much as possible. So it's surrounded with a couple of workshops. Let's put a road layout. I'm going to put engineer and a prefect so it doesn't burn down, and accept olives in here. We want to accept around 16 units and accept 16 oil. That's fine to do it all in one warehouse. And I'm gonna actually put this a bit further. Let's remove this one and let's put another workshop over here. So we are at 6. So let's just see how efficient this is going to be. So it looks like the carter is managing to deliver all the olives to all the workshops. He's even doubling up on delivering even more. So you can see that you can actually fit quite a few workshops around here. And you can utilize roadblocks to actually expand upon this. So if we really wanted to import a lot of olives and manufacture a lot of oil, how you would want to do this is just double up on it. Make another warehouse somewhere along here that's gonna also do the same thing with the olives. And it's gonna also do the same thing with accepting oil. You could also just make it so that it grabs olives from here, but that of course cuts into the time the carter is going to spend just doing what he's supposed to be doing. And as I mentioned, we could just expand upon this. So let's take the overlay down. This is like if you play Stronghold with spacebar, you want to like minimize what you are building so you can see between the buildings. It's very useful to use the overlay, as I mentioned also in the other videos. So you would want to do that, and then we want to create a little offshoots in these areas. And how we could do that is usually you would just focus on one area. I just designed 2 at once, but what you can do is just design with 2x2 spaces for workshops in mind and just bring it around like so, and so that you can just have something like this. And then if we put, yeah, this guy's unfortunately going to spawn in there, so we're gonna have to roadblock that. But we could, for example, this is a perfect spot to put services like the engineer and a prefect, and you can see that they will cover the whole length of that, and we would have plenty of spare space to put even more workshops in. And you can see that all of them have goods. So this is how you would set up your import industry so that it's not reliant on actual clay. This is how you would get goods to a faraway place, and yeah, otherwise follow the rules of thumb as I mentioned before. But that's gonna be it for this short video on industry areas in Caesar. If you have any questions regarding this, I'll be happy to answer them in the comments below. So thanks for watching and see you around. Bye.